3 reasons you should never leave a long gap in your CV. There are a myriad of reasons why you might have a long gap in your employment over the course of your career. Life can throw a lot of spanners into the works, whether it's because of an illness that forces you out of work to be a carer or the person cared for. It could be a case of trying to avoid a burnout by taking a sabbatical and traveling around the world. It might even be a redundancy, forced or otherwise, which has taken you out of the workforce for a period of time. Whatever the reason, the worst thing you can do on your CV is to leave that time unaccounted for. This is by no means an exhaustive list, but there are 3 reasons why you should never leave a gap. 1. People wonder what you're hiding. People, more often than not, think the worst. The moment you allow or force a person reading your CV to wonder what you were up to from one day to another, they are likely to assume the worst. Was the person in jail? Were they up to something else they can't put on their CV? These are not thoughts you want a potential employer to think about before they've even decided to invite you in for an interview. 2. People wonder if you're lazy. It's easy for people to imagine an unmotivated or lazy person sleeping in late, watching daytime television, and generally doing nothing useful. People start to question your work ethic, and that is never a good place to start when you're being considered for an interview. No matter how good you look on paper, nobody wants to carry a dead weight. 3. People wonder if you're employable. The train of thought might go something like this. If he or she hasn't managed to land a job after all this time, then maybe there's something wrong with them. They start to wonder if you're good enough for the role, as nobody else seems to think so. If they don't jump to the point above, they might assume you've been looking the whole time but just haven't found anyone willing to hire you. Hiring staff can be very risky, and nobody wants to stick their neck out if it looks like everyone else has passed. All this is avoidable by taking a few simple steps. Whatever the reason for your CV gap, it probably isn't as bad as the 3 mentioned above, or the other things people can imagine. You should add a line in your work history stating the dates of the gap and an explanation. Sometimes people decide to take time off because they're adventurous and feel life is too short. That's not a crime. In fact, in some instances, it's seen as a good trait. You may have decided you need to skill up to become more valuable in your sector. By simply saying what you were doing, you change the conversation from one of being, "I wonder," to, "I'll need to ask about this during the interview." The latter is a much better place to be. If you prepare your answer well beforehand, it might even turn into an advantage. So if you don't take anything from this, please take the fact that any explanation is better than none. If you know someone this post might help, or even if you just enjoyed it, please feel free to share. Thank you.